A vision is not a mental thing. It's not about, oh, I want to get to here and I want to do this, right? A vision is about, it's coming from our core self. A vision is about what expression or what version of me needs to show up to create this vision, this experience that I want to have in my life. Does that make sense? Like this is deeply about us. It's actually not about things. It's not about our partners, our life partners or business partners or our kids or our friends, anyone else. This is about us. How do I, and I come back to the I, this is an I day today, so it's all about you, right? Individually. Hold on to that, embody that, and come from that place. But it's the I in here, not the I in there, okay? This is the one that sometimes we think it's us, but it's actually not. So the voice we hear talking is the mind talking, but the self is you observing your mind talking. Right? So if you're able to observe that voice, and if it's saying something in your mind that creates an emotion, for example, who's ever had your mind go on a talk track and then it creates a negative emotion? By show of hands. So everyone should have their hands up, of course. Who's ever had a talk track in the mind and go, oh, makes you feel really good? Who's found that the negative ones seem to be more prominent than the positive ones, right? It's just the human condition, isn't it? So coming from our core, when we create the vision, is really, really important to go, is this my mind saying that it sounds good? Or is this my heart and my core saying, this feels right? You know, this feels like, and even if it creates an emotion, it's probably because you're going, this feels right, then it runs through the filter of your mind, and your mind goes, shit, you know, and it's like, then it's like, oh, now it creates anxiety or uncertainty, or starts going, but Simon, how do we do it? I don't know how to create this thing, right? And it starts pulling us away because we start going from here back up into here, and then it starts to throw us off. It starts to create thoughts and emotions and things and distractions in our stories and belief systems and our childhoods, and dogma, stigma, all other stuff comes into play. It's like, but we've got to shut that stuff up and go, come back. And if you feel yourself in this process going into your head, just stop, okay? What I would suggest you do is stop, close your eyes, and take 3 really deep breaths and just feel yourself come back to your body and then move forward with the process again, right? And no one should feel weird in this environment if you're doing that, right? I'll give you permission not to feel weird. And if you do it, someone else is probably going to go, I probably need to do that right now too. So then you'll probably see other people will do it, or you won't see it because your eyes will be shut. But other people will probably look at that, you know what? Actually, I need to ground myself. I need to bring myself back. And that happens. I mean, in this environment, happened this morning with Katie and myself. We're trying to figure out the internet, and then my laptop wouldn't sync to Google Drive for some reason because I needed to get some things onto the iPad, and then I couldn't get them on the iPad directly because I'd turned off the passcode, and with the passcode off, you can't use Google Drive, and it's like, oh my God. So all this stuff's happening at like 8:15 this morning while I'm trying to sort stuff out. And then we had our little team huddle, and I started talking, and Katie's just like, Sean, breathe, which is AKA for calm the fuck down, right? Katie's known me for 24 years or something now, and working in business for nearly 18. And, it's like, I got into here. I got away from here and into here. And so it's like, Sean, you need to come back to here. You need to speak from here, not from there, right? So it's the same thing. It happens to all of us, okay? So if you feel that happening, bring yourself back, embody it, and go from there. Now, the power of the vision, right? The vision becomes when you have it really embedded, and when you revisit it and embody and like really have it as part of kind of a North Star, I suppose, it becomes like a magnet. It starts to pull you intrinsically towards it, right? It's not like in a lot of life we think we're trying to push things to make them happen, right? A vision, when it's right, when it feels right, when it's written in language that's meaningful to you, and it's as unique as your blueprint, whatever the language is that works for you, is that it will act like a magnet to pull you towards it, okay? And this needs to be a safe space. And I want you all to understand that this has been created for that. When other people are doing it at the same time, what it does is, the energetic frequency of that creation, having, 50 people in a room doing it at the same time is different to you sitting at home doing it yourself. Because other people are resonating at the same frequency, right? And it starts to create, a space that feels creative, because everyone is now dropping into that same space. Does that make sense? So it's really powerful to do it in these types of situations. So utilize the time we have for each one of the sections, categories of the vision. Just be there for that. It just goes for 15 minutes. Who's got enough attention span to be able to hold themselves for 15 minutes? Most people, all right? There's a great book called Deep Work. Talks how distraction in our life has changed our brain physiology, and the sheath over the receptors in our brain is thinner, which means we cannot actually concentrate for as long because we're too busy doing next, watching TV, whilst watching TV and doing something and cooking dinner at the same time. And there's no actual focused attention, or not no, but a lot less focused attention because of all these distractions. But the more you come back to focus and attention, you build that. You change your actual physical nature of your brain and thicken those sheaths, and you will actually be able to concentrate for longer and get better quality deep work done. One of the things a vision is for too is it helps us to create structure and know that if we're going in the right direction or not. The vision should be a decision-making tool. Who's had an opportunity, the best opportunity ever, come across their desk at some point? Like, oh, this opportunity is amazing, awesome, really good. No one. No one's had a good opportunity to come across this, right? Okay, let me ask a different question. Who had a really good opportunity to come up their desk? They've gone ahead with it, and it didn't turn out to be as good as what it looked like. Okay, yep, okay, good stuff. Excellent. Okay, so we've all been there. Okay, that's probably the point. The thing is, when we have no structure, we have an abundance of opportunities, don't we? We don't know if we're going left, right, climbing that mountain, this mountain. It's like, oh, that one smells okay. I'm going to go in that direction, right? If you have no structure, you could go anywhere, and anywhere is probably okay, until then you start walking down that path and go, this isn't where I want to be. How did that happen? Right? This is the part of what vision is also for. It'll help define what you do, where you live, where your money's coming from, what businesses and investments you have, your health and fitness, your relationships, all of it. Because if you've defined how you want to experience those areas of your life going forward, you've taken responsibility for it. And if you've taken responsibility for it and you've written it in language that has come from your core, then you're going to get the biggest benefit out of it. Those of you who've played the game before, this is our foundational core. Vision is in the center for a reason. Because the vision is why you're doing all those other things, right? So the actions you're taking in the business are to help you to create your vision, the who you're being at the top of the foundational core. So obviously the top half is the being, the personal. So your personal purpose. You know, my personal purpose, change the world one person at a time. That's my personal purpose. And it scared me when I first came up with that because it used to be helping people succeed. A few years ago, those of you who know me well, that was for about 10 years it was that. And it scared me to understand that my goal is to level up and increase the level of impact that I can have. You know, then you've got your personal values. What do you stand for? What do you stand for? You know, do you do what you say you'll do? Are you someone of integrity? You know, all those things, the things that are important to you. Then you've got the definition of leadership. Right? Humble, authentic, and vulnerable. That's my definition of leadership. Has been now for about 7 or 8 years. That's the yardstick I measure how I show up, whether it's here, whether it's to my team, you know, whether it's to friends, family, it doesn't matter. Any situation, the skin that I wear. Definition of success. How do you define success? Because success is not a destination. How do I feel successful today? How do I feel successful right now in this moment today? It's by having a definition of success that's defined by who you're being, not what you've created or what you've got. So in my case, my definition of success is the freedom to choose and the impact I have on those around me. Those two things. It's not, oh, big house, flash car. Those things are nice. But who's ever bought like a nice car and gone, yeah, wow, and then I threw it so it's just a car. It loses its shine. As soon as you've got it, it loses its shine. So the bottom half, obviously, is our business. This is for any of our businesses that we have. Our why, our business purpose, which is our why. Our business mission, what are we going to achieve? That's the tangible part. The vision is not the tangible part. It's not, I want to have my business doing $1 million profit a year. That's not the tangible part of vision. That's the mission, right? Your mission is isolated to that entity. Does that make sense? Your core values, who you hire and fire, right? That you hire and fire by those things. Who you want on your team. And your strategic plan and execution framework, that's how you get there, right? But the vision is at the center of that. And the more clearer and stronger and even those blades are, the faster you can spin that propeller, the more you're going to move forward, the more ease you're going to move forward. And those of you who are newer to the room, I literally woke up one morning at 3:30, bing, and that image appeared in my head. I half asleep, drew it on my whiteboard. It literally just appeared like that. I hadn't even thought of it, but that image appeared. The combination of the background of my dad always being in aviation, I'd had airplanes in the past, I had my pilot's license. What it was is I'd seen enough business owners over time to see what it actually took for them to start to do this, right? Rather than kind of, grow like this. It's sort of, what do they say? It takes 10 to 15 years to become an overnight success, right? It's that thing of where all the things finally locked in and they could get the thrust and the movement, the forward progression very, very quickly and with ease. Like they'd sneeze and some opportunity would come along and they'd generate more money in the business and they'd have more time and more impact and things like that. And again, as a decision-making tool, you then need to choose. It could literally be the best opportunity that's come across the table to make money, right? But if your vision isn't specifically about making money and you go down the path of making money, you're going to pull yourself away from your vision. And what's going to happen is, you might make more money, but you actually feel less satisfied. You actually feel, I don't know, you could feel more hollow. You could feel more stressed. You could be pulling you back into more hours. Yeah, you're making more money, but that's not what you actually wanted. When you go back to your vision and you look at your vision, you see the impact and go, well, actually, if I do that, it's taking me away. This is truly what I want. So it might be the ego or the mind going, yeah, let's chase that dollars, versus the heart going, no, this is where we're going. This is how we want to experience the world. And not just about business. One of the things that I learnt, and this is the thing that, when none of us are immune from this stuff, right? One thing I realized is I went away from that process in a relationship a few years ago, and it wasn't until I came back to it that I realised that I was so far up the wrong mountain because I'd gone away from that process. And I won't go into detail, but I wasn't showing up as a full version of myself at that point in time, based on that situation. And I forgot to use the tools. I put the chainsaw down. I started using the butter knife to chop trees down again. And I'm wondering why it's so hard. But we talked about this a couple of events ago, the Hawkins consciousness scale, okay? And it's the scale of emotions. And at the bottom of the lower frequency emotions like shame, guilt, frustration, anger, those sorts of things. Then you get into hope, love and other emotions and things that are above that, okay? The thing is, when you generally operate, in the positive emotions and the more expanded range frequency, you have certain tools that exist in that. Say you're sitting at 500, 600 on the scale, to use a number. You've got tools that resonate at 500 or 600. But if you drop down to 100, you no longer can see the tools that are at 600. It's like they don't exist. Doesn't matter how much training you've had. It's like they don't exist. You need people around you to remind you and support you and help you to see that those tools exist to help pull you back up again. And so these things can happen. But the vision is a great way of saying, if your vision is right, it'll be resonating at a really high frequency, right? And if these opportunities come in, you'll probably find that there's a mismatch if it's the wrong one. If it's the right one, it should dovetail in, directly dovetail in. Your vision will also evolve over time as you evolve. So the goal here is, as we do always, that we run a quarterly cycle, because what makes a great business? Doing the same stuff every 90 days, over and over again until it gets boring, right? That's the whole point, because that makes a great business. Just hire people to do the boring stuff, you focus on the good stuff. Part of that is reviewing your vision, your mission, your whole foundational core elements every quarter and checking in. Is this language still right? Is this really still what I want? Because as we also go through different stages of life, those things will change and evolve. A few years ago, someone said, your purpose is going to change in a year or two. Oh, yeah, bullshit, it's not going to change. It's set. I reckon it's going to be for life. Well, no, it wasn't. It changed. Because as I changed, I needed to evolve the language and the meaning that it had for me and the depth of impact that they could have as well. There's a concept of moving towards versus moving away. And lack mindset, negative energy, running away from things we don't want, okay? So if you're running away from a tiger that's chasing you, and you're looking at it and running like this, what's likely to happen? You probably go off that cliff that you didn't notice was there because you're too busy focused on the bad stuff that you're trying to get away from. And it's a very negative approach. It's very, it's a fear-based approach. It's like, why did you start your business? Oh, because I didn't want to work with this dickhead anymore, right? Okay, great, you started a business, but it's probably not necessarily the right frame to start a business at, right? You're starting a business because, I really want to do it for myself, and I really want to, create something that I'm, that I lead, and I can, as we probably all did, create more time and more money. But until we figure out how to do that, it teaches us some great lessons. And the thing is, our psychology tends to have 5 or more times the weight to negative things than it does to positive things. That's why I asked you deliberately before, who has a lot more negative thoughts that come up that affect your state than you do positive ones, is there seems to be definitely a focus on our psychology on the negative side of things. And moving towards, that's abundance, motivation, drive. That's like a pulling, like it's drawing us towards it. That's the whole point of a vision. A vision the goal is to draw us towards it. And it's not a running away. It's not a negative thing. Solutions, opportunities, possibilities.